My beloved brothers and sisters, true measure of a person's faith is not found in how long they pray or how beautifully they recite, but in how they treat the people around them. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam showed us that kindness, respect, and compassion are the real foundations of a believer's character. When we look at the life of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, one of the most remarkable lessons he gave to humanity was the way he dealt with conflict and opposition. At a time when revenge and retaliation were considered normal responses, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam brought a message that forgiveness is far more powerful than revenge. He showed the world that mercy is not a sign of weakness, but a sign of true strength. Think of how often he was wronged, insulted, and even attacked, yet his response was almost always patience, dignity, and forgiveness. When he entered Makkah as a victorious leader, he had every reason, from a worldly perspective, to take revenge on those who had driven him out, persecuted his followers, and fought him for years. But instead, he sallallahu alaihi wasallam forgave them, declaring, "Go, for you are free." That moment alone changed countless hearts, proving that mercy softens where the sword cannot. Forgiveness is not easy, especially when we are deeply hurt. Our instinct tells us to respond with the same energy we received. If someone harms us, we feel justified in harming them back. But the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam shifted this mindset completely. He taught us that the greatest victory is not in overpowering others, but in conquering our own ego and anger. By forgiving, we rise above the cycle of hatred. By letting go, we protect our hearts from being chained to bitterness. Imagine the peace in our lives if we practice this in our families, our friendships, even in our daily interactions with strangers. Conflicts would end faster, grudges would fade, and love would replace hostility. We must understand that forgiveness does not mean we allow injustice to continue. It means we don't let hatred consume us, and we rise above vengeance. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam balanced justice with mercy, but his default was always to lean toward forgiveness. That is why his life became a light for the entire world. If we want peace in our families, in our communities, and in our hearts, we need to apply this solution he taught us. The next time we feel the urge to retaliate, remember the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam standing in Makkah, forgiving those who caused him the most pain. That is true greatness, and that is what makes forgiveness one of the most amazing solutions he left for us. True strength lies in forgiveness, not revenge. Every human being faces moments of stress, worry, and anxiety. It is part of life's journey, and no one is spared from it. Yet the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave us timeless guidance on how to handle these storms in a way that heals the heart and strengthens the soul. He sallallahu alaihi wasallam never promised that life would be free of hardship, but he showed us practical ways to cope, reminding us that true peace does not come from the absence of problems, but from the presence of faith. One of the most profound solutions he taught was reliance on Allah, or tawakkul. He sallallahu alaihi wasallam showed us that when a believer places their trust in Allah wholeheartedly, no difficulty feels too heavy, because they know that behind every hardship is wisdom. And with every struggle, relief is already written. Stress often comes from feeling like we are losing control. We think we must carry the burden alone, that everything depends on our strength. But the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam reminded us through his words and actions that we are never alone. He would turn to dua, calling upon Allah in moments of distress, showing us that speaking to our Creator is the greatest form of therapy. When sadness weighed on him, he would stand in prayer for long hours, teaching us that Salah is not just a ritual, it is a sanctuary, a place where the soul unburdens itself before the one who understands us completely. Another solution the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam emphasized was patience. He sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught that patience is not passive suffering but active resilience. It means holding on firmly to faith even when the world feels like it is crumbling around you. This patience is not about suppressing emotions. It is about channeling them toward hope instead of despair. When life seemed unbearable, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam would remind his companions that trials are temporary, that no storm lasts forever, and that after difficulty, ease will surely come. Those words still apply to every one of us today. He sallallahu alaihi wasallam also showed us the importance of balance. Stress increases when we neglect our physical, emotional, or spiritual well-being. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam encouraged moderation in everything: eating, sleeping, working, and worshipping. He knew that a healthy body supports a healthy mind, and a healthy mind is better able to trust and submit to Allah. Even the simple act of remembering Allah through dhikr was presented as a solution, because hearts that remember their Lord are never truly restless. These teachings remind us that no matter how dark the night feels, the light of faith can guide us through. True peace begins when the heart learns to trust Allah completely. One of the most transformative teachings of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was his approach to equality and social justice. He lived in a society where status, lineage, wealth, and power determined how people were treated. Yet he rose above those norms and declared that every human being is equal before Allah. This was not just a statement, it was a lived reality. He sallallahu alaihi wasallam showed through his actions that the color of your skin, tribe you belong to, or the amount of wealth you possess does not define your worth. What truly defines a person is their character and their relationship with their Creator. In his final sermon, he made it clear that no Arab is superior to a non-Arab, and no white is superior to a black except in piety and righteousness. These words were revolutionary at that time, and they remain just as relevant today. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not only preach equality, he practiced it in the smallest details of daily life. He would sit with the poor, eat with the slaves, and welcome the marginalized. He never allowed arrogance or pride to creep into his interactions. If someone entered his gathering, they would not even be able to tell who the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was, because he sat humbly among his companions, never raising himself above others. He broke the chains of discrimination by treating people with dignity, regardless of their background. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam also warned against arrogance and looking down on others. He reminded his companions that even a seed of pride in the heart could deprive a person of paradise. This was his way of dismantling the structures of superiority that divide people. He sallallahu alaihi wasallam was teaching us that if you want Allah's mercy, you must first show mercy and fairness to others. If you desire justice for yourself, you must uphold justice for everyone. Imagine how different the world would look if we truly followed this solution. Wars fought over race, oppression based on class, discrimination rooted in culture. All of it would dissolve if people understood that every soul is equally valuable in the sight of Allah. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam left us with a blueprint for a just society, one where no one is above another except by virtue of their goodness. True honor lies not in wealth or status, but in piety and justice. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us that a successful life is not about extremes, but about balance and moderation. He showed us that true health, both physical and spiritual, comes from living in harmony with the natural rhythm Allah has set for us. He sallallahu alaihi wasallam encouraged eating in moderation, teaching that the stomach should be filled with 1/3 food, 1/3 drink, and 1/3 air. This simple guideline, revealed over 1400 years ago, is still recognized today as one of the healthiest approaches to eating. By teaching moderation, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was not only guiding us toward physical health, but also protecting us from the greed and excess that so often lead to illness and discontent. His lifestyle was simple yet deeply fulfilling. He sallallahu alaihi wasallam valued cleanliness, describing it as half of faith, and emphasized purity in both body and soul. This focus on hygiene was revolutionary at a time when such practices were neglected by many societies. By teaching his companions to wash before prayer, to maintain cleanliness in their homes, and to avoid wastefulness, he created a community that valued dignity, health, and respect for Allah's blessings. These lessons remind us that our bodies are a trust given to us by Allah, and caring for them is a form of worship. He sallallahu alaihi wasallam also promoted emotional well-being by encouraging joy, play, and love within the family. He would smile often, play with children, and express kindness to his wives and companions. These moments of lightheartedness showed that taking care of the heart is just as important as taking care of the body. By embracing moderation, he created a model where spirituality, health, and happiness all work together in harmony. In today's world of access, where people overwork, overeat, or overstress, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam solutions shine as a reminder that balance is the key to true contentment. If we eat with moderation, live with cleanliness, worship with balance, and care for our emotional well-being, we will discover a life that is both healthy and spiritually fulfilling. True success is found in living a balanced life guided by moderation. One of the greatest challenges human beings face is controlling their emotions, especially anger. It is natural to feel upset when things go wrong or when people hurt us, but the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave us beautiful practical solutions for managing anger before it controls us. He sallallahu alaihi wasallam explained that true strength is not in overpowering others or shouting the loudest, but in the ability to restrain oneself when angry. This teaching alone has the power to transform families, friendships, and even entire communities, because most conflicts begin with uncontrolled emotions. When someone insulted him, provoked him, or even harmed him, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not respond with rage. Instead, he showed calmness, patience, and wisdom. By doing so, he demonstrated that anger only fuels more anger, while restraint opens the door to peace. He sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave simple yet powerful advice. If you feel angry, remain silent. If you are standing, sit down. If you are sitting, lie down. If the anger persists, make wudu, for water cools the fire of anger. These are not just spiritual remedies, but also deeply psychological. They physically and mentally shift us away from the environment that triggered the emotion, giving us space to regain control. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam also encouraged forgiveness as a remedy for anger. He knew that holding on to grudges feeds resentment, while letting go brings peace. By teaching us to respond to harm with forgiveness, he was giving us a way to heal instead of adding more pain to the cycle. He sallallahu alaihi wasallam reminded us that those who forgive and control their anger are beloved to Allah, and that reward far outweighs any satisfaction we might feel in lashing out. Imagine how different our homes would be if we lived by this teaching. Parents would guide their children with patience instead of shouting. Couples would resolve disagreements with calmness instead of fights. Communities would unite instead of breaking apart. The Prophet's Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam solutions are not just theoretical. They are practical everyday tools to build harmony. When anger knocks at the door of your heart, remember the words of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and choose restraint over reaction. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us that the foundation of a healthy society begins with how we treat those closest to us. Family, neighbors, and community are the circles that shape our lives. And when these relationships are nurtured with kindness, respect, and love, the entire society flourishes. He sallallahu alaihi wasallam was a perfect example of this, showing affection to his family, compassion to his companions, and care for his neighbors, even if they were not Muslim. His life was a living demonstration that true faith is not only about rituals and prayers, but also about the way we honor and serve the people around us. Within the home, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam emphasized gentleness and mercy. He would help with household chores, mend his own clothes, and treat his wives with respect and tenderness. He, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, reminded us that the best among us are those who are best to their families. This teaching flips the idea that greatness is found outside the home, showing instead that true greatness begins in private, in the way we speak, support, and uplift those we live with every day. A home built on kindness becomes a sanctuary of peace, and that peace then spreads to society at large. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam extended this kindness to the community as a whole. He encouraged unity, teaching that believers are like a single body. If one part is in pain, the whole body feels it. He stood for justice, supported the poor, and reminded the wealthy to share their blessings through charity. His sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Compassion was so broad that even animals and the environment were recipients of his mercy. He instructed people to treat animals gently, to avoid wastefulness, and to respect nature as a trust from Allah. These lessons show us that kindness is not limited to people we love, but must encompass all of creation. If we apply these teachings today, the impact would be extraordinary. Families would be stronger, communities would be safer, and society would be built upon love rather than selfishness. Conflicts would reduce, generosity would increase, and hearts would soften. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave us the solution to many of our modern problems simply by teaching us to care for one another with sincerity and compassion. True faith is reflected in the way we treat people, starting from our homes and extending to the world around us.